Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Stability and Opportunity series that we are doing here at REDX. Thank you for joining us once again. My name is Tyler Fenn, the Director of Sales here at REDX, and I'm super excited. I have Payton Fisher with me today. I'm really excited about the things we're going to chat about, and I'm going to have him introduce himself in just a second here. But for those of you, we are streaming this on a number of different forums and different places. So whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or right on our webpage, make sure to chatting with your comments. If you have questions for myself or more likely you'll have questions for Payton because he's the pro here, chat those in here. We want to get those answered and help create stability and opportunity for people. Payton, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, can you tell us who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Payton Fisher. I've been on this world, 33 years now. I live in St. George, Utah. Probably one of the greatest places ever. We're by Zion National Park, just south of Salt Lake, about 4 hours, and north of Las Vegas, about 2 hours. So we have just a perfect little slice of heaven. I have been in real estate coming up on my third year. And you asked me a couple of my accomplishments. So the first 6 months that I was in full time, I closed 22 deals. I did have long hair down to my shoulders and it was curly, and I had braces. So when anyone says that they can't sell real estate, if I can sell real estate with long hair and braces, anyone can sell real estate. And then my first full 12 months after that, we were able to close 57 deals.
That is awesome.
Had a sweet run, learned a lot, and this is going into my third year. Super excited, amped up. I got an amazing business partner now, and we're just cranking.
So even with just 3 years in real estate, you've found a tremendous amount of success so far.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. When you talk to mass amounts of people, you can get mass results.
That is awesome. I love that. So prior to the show, we were just kind of chatting about things, and you mentioned that you're doing some unique things right now to get exposure, and it might not be the typical real estate marketing. Right?
Yeah. So
tell us what you're doing.
We all know that COVID hit, I think the first week of March, and it was brutal. And I'll be honest, I wanted to curl up in a little ball like everybody else did. We had about 8 deals fall apart within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I think it was about $80,000 in commission that we watched wash away. And I don't know if I cried a little bit, but I wanted to. And there was really a point to where it's either in any market, whether you're in a buyer's market, a seller's market, there's always a market for something. And instead of curling up in a ball, I said, okay, what do I know how to do? And that's talk to people. So instead of my just circle prospecting calls, we did circle prospecting still through this whole thing, but it was a, how can we help you? Hey, we've got a house for sale. No, why are you calling me? It's coronavirus. And we're also reaching out. How can we help? What can we do in the community? Who can we help? Do you need groceries? Do you need toilet paper? What can we do to help you? So we went from, hey, I'm still a real estate agent, to, hey, I'm an agent, to, how can we help you outside of the real estate genre? And so another thing that we did is we have been reaching out to businesses, and we've been giving tons of, quote, free advertisement to them. And the way that, just so you guys kind of know, so the viewers know, so what I do is I literally I'll post on my Facebook that just says, what business in town do you know that needs some support, whether giving advertisement for the hours they're open, the food that they're doing, what are they doing to help? Let's see. So when they, like with their doors are open, but they can't let people in, are they still giving out food outside? Are they letting call-in orders? So one lady in particularly that we were able to do this for, I called her and I said, Julia, can we show off your taco shop? Best taco shop's incredible. And so I got on a phone call with her. She's literally on her cell phone in her shop. And we're just talking about, Julia, who are you? What do you guys do? What's going on with this coronavirus? And how can we help as a community? Well, she said, can you tell everybody our new hours? Can you tell what's going on? So we literally, in the Facebook thread, we posted her hours. We posted her menus. And many people actually commented and shared that. Well, the cool part about that is not only does that make me feel good as a person, hey, I get to help another business, but she was so appreciative at the end. She's like, wow, I've never had somebody care that much about my business if I have somebody that does need to buy or sell, I'm definitely going to refer them to you. And I didn't even ask. It wasn't like, hey, who do you know that I can help? She's just like, whoa, I so appreciate that. And since then, I've had one more follow-up call with her. She's about to open her doors. She told me, she said, hey, why don't you bring your business cards down to my location? Why don't you give me some information so I can help spread the word about what you're doing also? And so, go ahead.
No, continue.
And so literally that's one of I've probably done 15 to 20 of those. And the cool part is right when I start, the only thing that I ever talk about real estate is, hey, this is Payton Fisher, the Payton Fisher Show, where we get to tell your story. And I'm with ERA Brokers. Boom, and I move on. So it's not a salesy, hey, let me buy and sell your house. It's, hey, I truly want to help you right now, because there is less people right now trying to buy and sell. However, they're going to remember that guy who was on their thread. And the best part is they're going to share it with them and their friends. So my face has been probably spread, I bet there's been close to 2,000 to 3,000 views on those videos across the past month and a half that would never have been. And it takes like 15 minutes. You get on a Zoom call, slightly like what we're doing now, and you just share a link and it's done. And so it's been awesome.
That is really awesome. I think, so let me ask this question. Do you feel like, because you're coming in with that non-salesy, right? You're there to help first. And if opportunity generates from it, great. But you're going to help that business regardless of whether or not they put your business cards on their countertop, whether or not they refer you. Do you feel like that has drastically contributed to the success of this campaign that you're doing? Whereas if you came in with the intention to advertise your real estate expertise, right? Do you feel like there's a different tone and therefore a different acceptance that comes from it?
Well, let's be honest. If I started this by saying, hey guys, I want your referrals, St. George, Utah, send them my way, everyone's going to be like, that guy's just a royal jerk, and he's arrogant and a son of a gun. And so, no, I think the best part about this whole thing is it's making me feel good about what I'm doing. Therefore, when I'm talking to other people, I'm already on a different mindset of, hey, we're here to help. Great. If business comes back to us, that's awesome. I've had several teachers and coaches over the couple of years, and they always say, if you're out there doing good, you're not necessarily going to get a result from that, but somebody behind you is going to come back and say, hey, Payton, I've got a deal for you. And you're like, wait, where did that deal come from? You don't even know. And so direct relation to my marketing these businesses, no, we haven't seen any deals come back. I did have a gentleman, for several of you guys have followed me. I did an interview with you guys about a year ago, and I've had a lot of people follow me since then. I just had a guy just the other day call me that had listed with Homie. And he's like, hey, you're doing all this advertising stuff. Why don't you look at my stuff? And I'm like, what are you doing? Why don't I have your house listed? And he's like, you're right. Why don't you take my listing? And I was like, okay. And so people see when you're out doing things, and they recognize it, and they're like, whoa, that person is doing something. And so anytime I ever have a conversation with any of my clients and I say, how much social media is your real estate agent doing? Almost all of them say none, zero. I've sold houses in like 20 minutes off of doing a Facebook Live. Literally, boom, sold. And so it works.
So walk me through that a little bit more. When you say, hey, I've sold homes doing Facebook Lives, what does that look like for people who go, hey, I want to implement something like that in my business? What does that look like?
Okay, so first it looks like this. And then second, it looks like Facebook. And third, and I know this sounds dumb, but so many people ask me all the time, well, how do you do it? I go like this. I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm at 123 Main Street. We just listed this house. Let me bring you through a walkthrough on it real fast. Boom. And I turn the camera on and I say, here's the kitchen. Here's the master. And I just do it. I just post. People, when they watch my stuff, they're like, well, you never screw up. And I'm like, oh, BS. Watch my threads and you'll see me. Like, I'll just start laughing sometimes. I'll run into a wall. I'll hit something. My camera shakes. It doesn't matter. Just do it. And so there's so much anxiety on people will, I just don't know what to say. Who cares? Do a video that says, I'm at 123 Main Street and watch my video. And just walk through the house and don't say anything and just put some music on or something. And so
it sounds like so incredibly simple, but yet I think that there's a lot of people that would go, I think you're right. There's some embarrassment, there's hesitation. And if you were, let's say you're having lunch with an agent and that's the concern. They go, look, I'm scared. I'm worried that I'm going to look unprofessional and that's going to affect me. What's some advice that you'd give to that person to just get out and do it, right? Because it sounds easy and you seem like such an extrovert that getting out and doing something like that seems so natural. And so what if it's not natural to just get out and do it? What's the advice that you'd have for somebody?
Okay, so first, if you ask my wife, over this past few years, I've actually become kind of introverted. Like when I'm not on the phones, I'm pretty much just like, hey, I just want to shut off. If you watch my YouTube videos, there's my plug for the Fisher family compound. Like I literally just almost like don't want to talk to anybody. I want to go get in my garden. I want to play with my bunny rabbits and I want to not talk to anybody or do anything. And so, but because of the sales profession that I've chosen, I don't have to be outgoing. I choose to be outgoing because a lot of people like somebody with energy. They like to follow that. And I'm not saying that you can't do a Facebook Live without energy, or you can be a calm person on a Facebook Live. That's not necessarily how I portray myself. When I'm at lunch, and I've done this before, when someone's like, well, how do you do it? I'll pull my phone out, I'll turn Facebook Live on, and I'll say, I'm with Donald Smith, real estate agent here in St. George. He's incredible. And I'll go like this. I'll be like, what's up, Donald? This is Payton and Donald, and we're here at lunch, and we just wanted to talk about some of the amazing thing that Donald's doing right now in his real estate business. Donald, why don't you tell me, what makes you so different than any other real estate agents? And I'm just right there on the spot, and they'll be like, well, I'm a good agent, and I'll take care of you, and I'm honest, and I'll help, whatever. And it just shows people it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you fumble. Because when someone else is watching this, they're just thankful that it's not them on the other side of the phone. They're like, oh, I'm so glad that's not me on that Facebook Live.
So with Facebook Live, and this is a comment that came from Amanda Smith. And Amanda, thank you for being with us again. Robert, thank you. Michael, thank you. We've got some regular viewers who are here and commenting. And Amanda says, is Facebook Live a regular component of your marketing plan for listings? So is that something that when you sit down with somebody and say, look, here are all the things I'm going to do to market your home, is that something that's included?
Oh, yes, it's huge. And so I actually just got turned into the board. You legally now in Southern Utah, NAR says you can't legally pre-market any properties until you have it on the MLS. You have 24 hours once you do it. Well, I used to, the second I used to get my doc signed, I would do a Facebook Live on the spot. I would go back 2 or 3 days later. I would do another Facebook Live. And sometimes I would only show parts of the house. I'd come in, I'd show the outside, I'd walk through, show the kitchen and maybe one bedroom. And I'd say, hey, if you guys want to see the rest, you got to call me or you got to set an appointment. And creates that interest there. But absolutely, I tell them we are on social media all the time. I have been doing these Facebook Lives between just the pre-listing presentation, and I have my personal coaching entrepreneur side where I do daily posts that just get people excited, motivation stuff. And so when I'm talking to the potential client, I say, how often are you looking at properties online? Everyone says that's where I start my search. Well, wouldn't it be important to have an agent that's extremely active on social media? Well, yeah, great. Go ahead. Do you have any other questions? Here's the paperwork. Let's sign the contract. I mean, there's obviously a whole list of other questions that I'm asking them also, but that's huge because everything revolves around social media now. You can't get away from it.
So another comment that came in, then I've got a follow-up question to what you just said is if you're doing Facebook Lives regularly for a listing, how often are you doing that?
So it depends on now this year I've been a lot more, I don't want to say stingy or snobby on my listings. I won't take overpriced listings anymore. It's brutal. You make people mad. You could do 100 Facebook lives. You could do $1 million in marketing and it doesn't work. So as I'm learning, I think I've done about 85, 90 deals now. And as I'm learning, if I price a home properly, I can literally do 1 or 2 Facebook lives and the house should be sold. And so I'll do a Facebook live the second that I legally can, which once we have photos and I know that it's going live, I'll try and go out to the property and I'll do a Facebook live. And typically within 7 to 10 days or the next time we do a price reduction, I'll go back out to the property and say, guys, we just dropped the price on this. Let me show you a little bit around if you haven't seen this property. And boom, I do another walkthrough and show them through the house.
So let me change gears. We've been talking about Facebook Live and the social media aspect, which it sounds like this is you're good at this, right? But I want to change gears a little bit to something that you said. You said that, look, I don't take overpriced listings anymore. And it sounds like because you're a prospector, because you're out actively generating business, you're in a position to be able to do that. This was something we talked about on our podcast yesterday with Derek Lipsky is we talked about how when you're actively out generating business, you get to be selective with who you choose to work for. Now, that being said, when you sit down with somebody and they come in and say, well, I think it's worth $450, but in your gut, Payton, you know, $375 is maybe the max. Walk me through that conversation, even if we want to role play. But if there's, how does that conversation go to get somebody to go, yeah, 450 is not realistic, 375, and let's assume they're willing to move on their price.
At first, it's going to start on sending out a pre-listing packet. So I just had one of these where I called and expired. He's listed at 635, and I'm like, that seems a little high. So, I said, hey, if it makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident when I come out, are you planning to list your home with me? Well, let's see. I said, great. I'm going to send out a listing packet so you can see where we're going to come in with. And my comp showed 540. Oh. And I sent him out to him and he mentioned to me, hey, we're probably going to list at about 585. I'm not going to take a 585 listing if I think that I'm stretching at 540. Well, he texted me, he ghosted me after I dropped it off on his door. And it's really nice, full 3-ring binder, all sectioned out. It looks really professional. And he pretty much was like, hey, changed our mind. We're going to list with a family member. And so it's sometimes you can't even get out on those listings when you're honest with people up front. And so because people sometimes they're so unrealistic with how expensive their house is going to be that it just doesn't make sense. Now, this one listing that I just took, this Homie listing, Homie listed him at, now I don't mean to be negative with any real estate companies. They let him list it at 395. Well, we listed it at 375 with every 2 weeks we're going to drop it down. Well, within a week and a half, we dropped him to 350. And now we're getting multiple offers coming in at 330. I told him if we were at 350, I know we'd get A, traffic, and B, we'd have offers. And so I've learned, A, I never promise anyone anything. Oh my gosh, I did that a couple times. Ooh, never will I again promise anyone. I don't care if I have $1 million home listed for $500,000, because then people are going to say, well, what's freaking wrong with this property? And there's something bad with it. It's straight A, being honest with people, and B, when you take an overpriced listing, I have one of my last ones that I let them dictate the price. We've been on the market now 5 months, calling me almost every day saying, well, why don't you do another open house? Well, why don't you do more marketing? Well, why don't you do this? And I can say, we've had 7 open houses. I've spent $2,000 on your marketing. I got new photography. I got a full 3D tour on your property. If we would have listed this at 575, when we first went on the market, we would have had it sold. And so now, and I apologize to them. I said, hey, I wasn't strong enough of an agent to tell you that I'm not taking this at an overpriced listing. And so it's my fault. So whenever your clients are mad at you for saying, well, why isn't my house selling? Then in my opinion, you need to apologize and say, I apologize. I wasn't a strong enough agent and told you what price this home would sell at. And so that's a crappy conversation to have.
I love that. I agree, though. I think that there's this concept of honesty, right? If deep down in your gut, you know it's not going to sell at this, it's not fair to anybody, yourself included, to go and spend the time and the energy and the effort to try to sell a home that you know isn't going to sell at that price.
Yep. If somebody is willing to take a pre-drop, like I'll take out an addendum that has a price drop on it. Yeah, I'll take a property that's 25 or 30,000 overpriced. If within 2 weeks we're dropping 15,000 and 2 more weeks we're dropping another 15 to 20,000. So within that first 30-day window, we're actually in a price that's going to cause it to sell. Okay, that makes sense. But the issue is I did one of these last year. They wanted to price it, and I'll be honest, I think I priced it like 75,000 over. It was a parade of homes, blah, blah, blah. And they said, okay, in a month, we're going to drop this all the way down to about 615. Well, it took them 7 or 8 months to actually drop it, and they were furious at me that the house didn't sell. And I'm like, dang it, I screwed up again. So it's just one of those learning lessons that you just have to experience sometimes. Because if you're starving and you're hungry, then you'll do anything and take anything and accept anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's certainly the truth. When you don't have any listings, you are willing to work with anybody with a pulse to try to get something, right? So I also like a lot, Payton, that you're humble enough to go, man, I did it wrong. And I think that's a crucial key to success, regardless of what market conditions look like. It's this ability to go, yeah, you know what? I need to get better at X, Y, or Z. So I commend you for that. That's a fantastic trait to have. You jump backwards a little bit.
Can I add something to that really fast? Another thing that I've learned. So my broker sat me down, and so we did 57 deals last year, and I made really good money. The thing is what he told me is that even though I made really good money last year, he said I could do half the deals and get full price commissions on everything that I'm doing and make more money still than what I did last year. And I'm not advocating somebody taking a discount commission because I've done that a ton. What I've learned, though, is those people who want to wheel and deal you a commission. Now, I'm not talking about somebody just saying, hey, will you give me a discount? I'm talking about those people that are like, I'm not listing with you unless you list with me at 4%, or unless you give me, X dollars back. If somebody asks you for a discount, great. But if you're able to overcome that and still get a full price commission, those people respect me and they'll respect you as the agent so much more that it seems like they're way less stressed. They're less headache. They're more willing to do price reductions. Now that's in the general, not always, but literally this year I've done almost all of my deals have been full price, and it has been wonderful. I won't do 57 deals again this year, but I'm going to make more money than I did last year. But I feel like my people respect me now. They love working with me. They're giving me way better reviews, and just it's awesome. And so slowing down a tiny bit to speed up on the financial side, it's incredible.
Well, and it seems like those are the type of the type of relationships and types of clients that end up being repeat clients, right? Is people that walk away from that scenario going, I'm ready to leave a positive review. I'm ready to refer. Those are the people that also come back in 7 or 10 or 15 years and go, I need to buy another home or sell this home, or my kids are now adults looking to buy and sell. You should use Payton to do that, right? So I think that I think that's fantastic. I love the idea of going, look, I'm worth 6%. And you've said it yourself. I won't do 57 deals, but financially it'll end up being a better year because you're sticking to that. I love that.
Yep.
Let me jump back to your social media marketing a bit based on some of the comments that we're getting here. Let me ask this question before I ask the question that is in the comments here. What is in St. George? What is the average price, the average home price in the market right now?
About $338,000. And
what is your average price?
It's just actually below that. I think we're at about $275,000.
Okay.
This year, I'm going to tell you though, that's going to change. That was the end of last year's number.
Okay.
So this year, I'll probably end up in the 400s, right at high 3s, low 4s.
Awesome. If you're marketing a high-priced home, a luxury listing, we'll say $1 million plus, is your social media marketing any different for that luxury listing versus standard?
No, because at ERA, at our brokerage, we actually have an internal photographer, and every listing we get professional photography and a full 3D dollhouse tour of the interior of the property. If I list over $500,000, I'll also get drones. That's like $40. And so, no, it virtually is the exact same. The amount of time that we spend, the same presentation that we give, we get through ERA, we actually get our full own customizable website with a YouTube video. Everything already comes in the box with the brokerage that I'm at, which is phenomenal. And so whether I'm selling a $30,000 lot or a trailer up to, $1.5 million home, it's, I hate to say that, but it's the exact same.
That's awesome. And it probably makes it simple, right? Is regardless of what the listing price is, there's a process that you go through to get that home listed and sold, and a piece of cake. I love it. What are some other things, if any? Well, let me ask this question differently. With COVID and the pandemic that's been around for the last couple of months now, what's different about your real estate business?
Well, my room's a little messy here, but let me just show you. This is my house. So this is different than what I'm used to being in an office. I'm used to being by people all the time, and I've been back in my house for several months, and I might not go back to an office. Like, okay. I've enjoyed it. I mean, it is chaotic. I'm surprised no little kids have run in here. My kids, typically, we have a pretty good rule of thumb. You don't come into dad's office unless someone's dying or there's blood coming out. And so that's probably the biggest difference is being at home with my family. And then the second is not being able to shake hands with my clients. Like, we just sold right when the virus hit full steam. I got a sign call and I went out and I met some clients, never met them before, showed them a house. I'm a handshaker. I like to talk to people, 6 feet. We didn't talk. I've never shaken their hand, and I sold them a $535,000 home. And so I feel like it's almost more impersonal than it's ever been. And so trying to learn how to do this, trying to learn how to be, all online and all social media. And I'm honest, I've been doing Facebook Lives and stuff for a long time, but really, really pushing it to try and generate business. That's, I think, people who are older are going to have the hardest time. Like my mom, she sells real estate also. And it was hilarious watching her do a Facebook Live the other day because she was staring at her phone. It's live, and she's going like this, and you can see her face like 3 inches from the phone trying to do it, and just trying to help coach her through it. And she's all, well, honey, I did it. And I said, you're right, you did, and that's awesome. So the biggest changes is just trying to help people take a step back and say, hey, I can do this. It's going to be hard, and there's going to be challenges, and there's going to be, worries of, oh my gosh. It's just a matter of just keep going. You can't stop, well, I guess you can stop your mortgage for the next year, but 12 months is going to be over, and you're going to have to pay it again eventually. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds to me like there's been a few changes out of necessity, right? Obviously, no handshaking. Maybe the weird elbow bump, right?
Yep, I've done a few of those.
Yeah. But it sounds to me like business hasn't changed a whole lot, except maybe where your time is spent. And let's talk about that for just a little bit. You mentioned earlier you'd lost about 8 deals right when everything hit. And I don't know if you said it on the live show, but prior to, you'd mentioned that in the last few weeks, you've put 9 together.
Yep.
Yes. And so you're catching back up.
I got to give my partner, Jeff Staple, a good credit of that, where we've both been cranking. So right when that hit, we had several build jobs. We've got a big subdivision listed. We had a big hard money guy freeze a whole bunch of money and wouldn't let anybody start new builds. And so we had those 3 fall apart, and we just had deal after deal after deal just kept falling apart. And so at the beginning of this, we talked about how, am I going to curl up on a ball, or am I going to keep going? So just getting back on the phones and making phone calls. And a lot of those, I'm trying to think, literally some of those deals were from people that I just reached out and said, how are things going? What's new? How has this COVID affected you? And hey, actually, you need to sell your home? Okay, let's make this happen. And just from making phone calls and truly caring about people, we all can sniff out someone who's just trying to sucker us for a sale or just want us for our money. Yes, we can get that. And just by genuinely caring about people want to do business with you. And don't get me wrong, I do still ask for business. If I've talked to somebody right now, that 2 or 3 weeks right during the whole COVID, I didn't ask for business because I got a lot of really nasty comments. You know what? The past 3 or 4 weeks, I haven't had one person really say, why are you asking me? We're in a pandemic right now. Well, people are still dying. Estates still need to be sold. Sad people are getting divorced. People are downsizing, upsizing, dying. All of that's still happening. And so it's purely just trying to take care of people and reach out to them, and you'll get deals to happen.
Now, these phone calls that you're making, and we can talk about the prospecting that you're doing for a little bit. Who is this calling you out to your sphere? Is this prospecting just listed, just solds? Who are these people that you're calling that you're calling to check up on, and then that turns into a positive business call?
Yep. Okay. So the first thing in my CRM, I've been begging REDX to build me a CRM for forever. Still haven't got that to work yet. So I still have to use a Lion Desk. Sorry, that was a jab.
I felt it.
As soon as you get it, I'll pay for it. I'll be your first paying customer.
You got it.
So I use Lion Desk, and really any CRM can do this. I just set up a reminder. Every person that knows me, likes me, and trusts me, they get a quarterly call from me. Every single person. So I've got like 300 quarterly calls that just is automatically reminded. And people all the time say to me, well, I've called my SOI so much. No, you haven't. So maybe if you called them all yesterday, but most people have like 400 or 500 people in their phone. And literally, okay, this makes people uncomfortable. But what I do when somebody comes in, a lot of people come into my office and say, well, who are you calling? What are you doing? I grab their phone and I'm just like, whoop, call. Oh, hey, this is Payton. I'm working with your friend so-and-so. Do you know anybody that's trying to buy or sell real estate? And I'll just, any person on their phone, and I'll just randomly dial call. And I'll say, and they say, well, you can't call them. Why? Because it's my ex or my brother-in-law I don't like, or I don't care. It's just an excuse. And so if you chose to be in the sales profession, either you're a secret agent or you're a real estate agent. And a real estate agent's going to call and talk to people. And you don't have to ask them for business every time. You can say, how are you doing? Have you been on any vacations this year? What's going on? And if they ask you if you're reading from a script, say yes and laugh about it and say sorry. And you just laugh about things. So the first thing I do is my phones when I talk to people. Second thing I do is expireds through REDX, FSBOs. I haven't called FSBOs as much through this whole pandemic because of the amount of negativity that you do get. It's a really hard field to play in. I sold a lot of FSBOs last year, but now that I have created enough volume, I can choose a little bit more of who I want to work with. And I've chosen to take a little bit of the easier path. And so, or easier, different path. So call all the FSBOs, call all the expireds, circle prospect like mad. Last week, I did a big week. I talked to 203 people last week. Wow, that's about great. 40 something a day. And I only had one person yell the F word at me. And so, that's a pretty decent week. And then sign calls in database. And so if you're an agent that doesn't have signs out, what I would do is try and find an agent in your company, in your group that is getting a lot of sign calls, that they're just not maintaining them. There's always somebody in that market that has a ton of sign calls that is not utilizing them. And you just purely say, hey, I will follow up on your database if can I follow up if I give you 25% referral just off of the sign calls, not SOIs, not anything. And a lot of times people will be like, okay, they're just running business out of the ground, or they're just throwing business away. And so last year we averaged about a 20% on our sign calls. And I feel like now that I'm managing most of those, I had a couple buyers agents on my team last year. I feel like now that I manage those, I think I'm going to convert between 20 and 30% of sign calls that are coming through. And
that's awesome.
It's incredible. And so, but that's also because in my program, like on my follow-ups, if I don't get a sign call or a text lead, I will call them one time every day for 10 days. And most of the time they will answer, if not to say, stop calling me, but to say, wow, you're persistent. I'd like to work with somebody that's like that.
I love that. And a conversion on sign calls like that, a 30%, that's fantastic.
That's what I think. Right now, we're still probably around the 20-ish%, which is still, it's incredible because internet leads are 0.05 to 3%.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Now you'd mentioned the things that you're calling. You'd said you'd start with your phone, right? Whoever's on the phone. From there, expireds, FSBOs, just listed, just sold, and geo prospecting, and then database and signed calls. In that order. Like if I was to sit down and go, hey Payton, who should I call? Is that who you'd tell me to call in that order?
Yeah, so it's pretty close to that order on my books. Typically every morning we'll hit expireds, and then if there's any major hots that I needed to hit the past day, I'll hit those. And then depending on what's going on in the day, so let's see here. So this morning I'm trying to work on my SOI. I'm trying to get everything going. So I had set for 2 hours to call my SOI, all my follow-ups, and then one FSBO that I've got a client that wants to go see his house. And then I have like little check boxes for every 10 contacts that I hit. I like that morphine in my brain when I do the check mark or the check box. So I put lots of little check boxes on my phone, or on my pad. And so to literally get on your phones, don't do paperwork in the morning. Don't do things that you could do later in the day. If somebody asks me to do comps right in the middle of my calling in the morning, I'll say, is it okay if I do this later in the evening? Almost everybody says, yeah, sure, that's fine. Most people aren't dying to get their paperwork. And if they're that serious, I'll say, okay, I'm going to send you a listing contract right now. Sign that. I'll stop what I'm doing. Pull your comps right now. That's a little sarcasm. Sorry. So getting on the phone and literally just talking to people, you're going to sell real estate.
I love that. Now, with expired listings, are you calling cancels and withdrawns also? This is a question from Dan McCorder. Thank you, Dan, for the question. Yeah. Especially right now, right? With everything going on, we have seen in many markets, we've seen the withdrawn listings increase as people go, we're going to wait and see what happens. Are you prospecting to the expireds, or excuse me, the cancels and withdrawns as well?
Yeah, so, and that's one thing, honestly, I've never figured out how to decipher when I'm making those phone calls. I just click all. So it calls them all. I've never figured out how to filter that. And so when I look on there, as I'm dialing down to the bottom right-hand side, it'll say canceled, withdrawn, or expired. And if it's canceled, I just say, hey, this is Payton with ERA Brokers. I was just calling to check, and I noticed that your house canceled. Did you guys pull your house off the market because of this whole COVID thing? And they're like, well, yeah. And I say, so when this all blows over, are you still planning on selling it? Well, yeah. Okay. And are you planning to use the same agent that you listed with the last time? Sometimes I get like and if there's even like a hint of, well, I'd love at least the opportunity to interview for the job of selling your home, I'll go ahead and follow up. And it typically depends on how they're feeling, because nobody wants to meet in person right now. Right. And we'll say, okay, I'm going to follow up with you. And I followed up with several people, and I've got probably 4 or 5 follow-ups that I'm following up with people from the whole COVID thing of when it comes off the market. And I've had a lot of them just say, hey, we just pulled our house off the market just for a little bit. We're still sticking with our same agent. And I say the same things, would it be okay if I just interviewed for the job? No. Okay. Last year I was a mega bulldog, and I just plowed through a lot of things, and I ruffled tons and tons of feathers. And this year I'm plowing through things, but I'm spreading flowers and daisies. Love.
That way, next time you run into somebody at a grocery store and they go, hey, you're Payton Fisher, it's a, hey, you're Payton, not hey, you're Payton.
Yes. And I've had those encounters before, like, oh, why did you do da. And I don't like that. So I'm working on shifting my not my direction, but just what comes out of my mouth. I'm trying to put a filter on it a little bit.
I love that. So we've got a few questions that have come in, and these are fantastic. Some of them I'm going to paraphrase, but they all have to do with calling and the length of time and contact rates and things like that. Let me ask this question before just to give some context. Do you have a daily contact goal every day?
So last year I did. It was 50, and I ended the year at 47 contacts a day last year. And I'll be honest, I got burned out on that.
That's a lot.
That was brutal. I was on the phone every day between 5 and 6 hours. We're not talking like, hey, I talked to like 6 or 7 people. We're talking an average of 47 contacts a day. It was honestly, it was brutal.
So what do you still track your contacts every single day, even though you're not being, there you go.
So I still like to see what I'm doing every day. This week is looking a little bit smaller because we put several deals. I just got a build job under, and I haven't. It's hard to say I'm going to prospect from 8 until 12 every day. I'll be honest, it's hard.
Yeah. Yes.
So you push a lot of people off. You frustrate people. Is that an excuse? Absolutely. If you want to be a mega agent, a mega performer, Brian Burnett, who he's in my market, he'll do probably 140 deals this year and virtually never give a discount. He hits at least 40 contacts every day. He is like the role model of the century, Brian. If you probably won't watch this because he never does anything except prospect and take listings. But it's truly incredible, and I have a ton of respect for someone like that. I just want to start actually building the relationships more with people and to have a little bit more of that love. So my average right now this year is probably, so this week it's only 12 and 13. But my conversations, I talked to a buyer this morning for 37 minutes. Oh my gosh. However, he was talking to another agent. It was a sign call, and I think I built a solid relationship with him after that phone call that I would have not done last year. I'd have been like, okay, I'll get you information and I'll talk to you later. Click. It's, wow, what do you want? How do you want? And for those amiables, that's easy to talk to people for a long time. For the, the bullheaded reds, the drivers like myself, that's hard. I'm like, ugh, yeah, I like that. Oh, you want pink back there? Oh, you want grass too? Great. Let's get you a place like that. However, that relationship that I built this morning, it's going to turn into probably a $600,000 or $700,000 purchase. And I bet you he's going to use me. He's already emailed me back like on 3 properties I sent him over. Well, what do you think about this? Do you like this neighborhood? What's going on? And so it's taking that deep breath for me. Most people aren't, I don't say this in an arrogant way. Most people aren't like me. They're not as hardcore like, I'm going to get 50 contacts every day, blah, blah, blah. They're like, 5 contacts. Oh, I talked to 5. I'm done today.
Yeah.
And so for me, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you're doing right now where you're doing 12 or 13, let's say 15 a day, how many dials are you making? This is one of the questions. How many calls are you making to get those contacts?
So if I'm not using a triple dialer, like if I'm just single dialing, I would say every other person that I dial will typically answer, maybe 1 out of every 3. And so like if I'm ever doing expireds, geo leads, anything like that, I always use a triple dialer. It's one of those things that it's a matter of numbers when you're trying to call people that you don't know. And so, I mean, it's got to be legal in you got to, follow the rules on that. It's an opportunity to hit the masses. If you try to geo lead single dialing, oh my gosh, it's like, I can't handle that.
So you're saying every other or every third call when you're calling to your SOI, you're connecting with someone.
Yep, my SOI or sign calls, text writer leads. Yeah, I'd say at least every third. On a good day, sometimes every other. And then on a bad day, it might be 1 in 4. And those take longer to call because every SOI, every sign call, or every SOI, I leave a voicemail and a text message follow up. And I've actually been trying to implement, even going as far as getting on my Facebook, making sure we're friends and sending them just a hey on there, just as kind of another touch. And then on my sign calls, I'll leave a voicemail every other day and I'll text them every day. And so you make people a little irritated sometimes when you call them that much. I had some guy text me back this morning, or I said, is this Leroy? And he said, this better not be a solicitor. And I said on the text message, I say, hey, my hands are up, don't shoot. And he called me and he was laughing. And I was like, oh man, I thought you were going to be pissed. He's all, well, I would have, but you're just funny. And I wasn't expecting that. And so they were using another agent already, which I was bummed about. But he said, if I wasn't, using this agent and I know him and I said, hey, she's awesome, she'll take care of you. I would totally use you. So just staying on top of it and just calling and calling and calling.
So you'd mentioned a few minutes ago, you said, I was on the call with a buyer for 40 minutes or 37 minutes or something, right? And then your face went like this, like, oh, right? Like, that's so long. Well, we've got a question here from Grace Chan, and she says, how long do you speak with each prospect for your SOI over the phone? I find that once I have somebody on the phone, many calls end up taking 10 to 20 minutes with prospects and 30 to 60 with my sphere. So how do you keep those calls short and to the point and effective?
Well, it depends on what you want. So I was coached by the Mike Ferry program last year. Love the Mike Ferry program. If you ever need to be driven hardcore, you get a premier coach, and it's incredible. They'll hold you mega accountable. Well, what happened to me is on those is I still have literally, oh shoot, I still have my entire scripts right here. And on
Love
those, the hard part is your sphere influence is you're supposed to take 2 minutes with them. And that's one of the biggest hard parts for me is could I only take 2 minutes? Hey, how you doing? You're supposed to preface it. This is just a quick business call. Do you have a minute for me? Yes. Great. Hey, I'm just checking in. Do you know anybody right now that's looking to buy or sell in the next 7 to 10 days? No? Okay. Well, I hope you have a good day. Bye. Oh, and it starts to wear on me after a while. And I think that's what's hard is trying to define yourself. Do you want to be a mega agent and do you want to do, 70, 80 deals? You got to do that. You got to preface everything. Hey, Tyler, this is just a quick business call. Do you have a minute for me? A minute, not 30 minutes, not 60 minutes. And so do you want to develop a referral-based business, or do you want to develop a business referral business? Does that make sense? Like,
maybe.
People, like, it's sad. People knew me that they're like, dude, you're kind of like hardcore. And there are some people that really respected that. And they're like, man, I want to refer him to Payton because he's hardcore. And then there's people that are like, freak, he won't talk to you. Like, it's sad. Like, I wouldn't talk to some of my friends. I wouldn't go to parties. I wouldn't do this because I was so focused on, my goal was 100 deals last year, and I was super bummed. I only did 57. I was so focused on that I left so much out. And so this year, I'm taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I still be straight arrowed, but love people along the way? Do you need to take an hour on the phone? No. But my average call, if I get a good buddy on the phone, we're going to BS for, 10, 15 minutes. And I'm okay with that because I'm working on implementing good things. Now, at any time, if I get on a phone call with somebody and they start ranting, oh, COVID this and this stupid crap, and I'm like, hey, actually, someone just came in my office, got to go, click, I'm out. I want nothing to do with negativity. Now, if someone's having a bad day, they need a shoulder to cry on, great, cry with them for a minute or two and get off the phone and get back to positivity. And so back to your question, how long do I spend on each phone call? On an SOI, I'm probably spending 10-ish minutes on a good phone call because I'm working on that love. And on those, there's a good chance that I might say, hey, do you know anybody that is looking to buy or sell? If I've given them 10 minutes, yeah, they deserve to be asked, do you know anybody? And so sometimes if they know you're in the real estate market, they'll say, well, hey, Tyler, hey, Payton, what's going on in the real estate market? And you don't even have to bring it up because they just want to know, well, is, this COVID thing or, however it is. So
it sounds like you're really striving to find the happy medium, right? I don't always want to be the bulldog that only has a minute for my friends. I also don't want to be on the side of the spectrum where I'm taking an hour for every single one, because then you're only making 2 or 3 contacts a day. It sounds, and this goes back to even what we were talking about at the very beginning, right? Where you said, look, I'm reaching out, I'm trying to help people. And if I do that, then business is going to come. And it sounds like that's kind of the same underlying principle with the way that you're trying to serve the community and serve your clients. Is I'm reaching out because I truly want to help. And if that turns into opportunity for me, then excellent. If not, at least I feel good along the way, and I've done a good job and done my best, and now I move on. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And if people ask you, hey, how are things going on your side? It's really easy to say, hey, I was just interviewing Tyler at REDX, and it was so cool because we were talking about what's going on in real estate. And they're like, well, what's going on in real estate? Oh, shoot, I just directed the conversation back to real estate again. It's so easy with one or two questions to literally turn a conversation to, hey, my boyfriend dumped me, to, hey, have you seen what's going on, with interest rates? Have you seen what's going on with this? Holy crap. Boom. And you can just, change a conversation. Now, and I'm able to do that because I was so hardcore in the Mike Ferry system for just probably about a year and a couple months. I studied my scripts every day for between 30 minutes and an hour. We're not talking like, hey, I practiced my scripts, guys. I said this 3 times. I said those things thousands and thousands of times, and it worked really well.
So I love the idea of practice makes perfect, right? I mean, you look at any performer in any industry, right? It doesn't matter if it's a stand-up comedian or an athlete or whatever, right? They've got this routine that they've practiced over and over and over and over. And I love the idea of practice, and I love the idea of what that does for you. For somebody who maybe hasn't spent as much time practicing, a lot of the concern is, I don't know what to say. And that often becomes a hesitancy, that becomes a barrier that people have to get through to pick up the phone. If somebody's in that position, what's the best advice that you'd give to somebody to get to the point? Scripts. This is everything you need to say in real estate right here. It's Mike Ferry. It's free on the Mike Ferry website. I'm not being paid to say this. This is complete. And this is where neither is REDX.
Yeah, neither is REDX. But literally, like this little binder, it was like $100, and you print off all those things for free. And literally, I would have this on my desk when I was calling expireds. I would have this on my desk when I was calling just listed, just sold, all these things. And people all the time, they'll say to me, well, I don't know what to say. Stop saying that and read one of these scripts. Literally, I've had people say, are you a robot on the phone? Because I read it, because I didn't internalize it. Now, when I'm talking on the phone, people are like, well, how do you do it? You do so good. Well, those aren't Mike Ferry scripts anymore. Those are Payton Fisher scripts. Now
that you've internalized them, right? I mean, it's just
over. And people, I remember my coach saying to me one time, he said, Vegas performers make thousands and thousands of dollars a night. Well, if you go get a $500,000 listing one day, you put it on the market, it sells the next day, you just made 15 G's, okay? How much practice did you do to make 15 grand? Well, most real estate agents haven't done anything, literally. And so it's a matter of practice. And the mega performers, they don't ever stop practicing. Like Brian Burnett, the biggest agent in my area, the highest grossing agent, not the biggest agent, but the highest grossing agent, he role plays 4 to 5 days a week still, every single week.
It's amazing.
And so how many people want to be at the success level? They aren't willing to do it. And so that's the hardest part, is when people reach out to me, and I'm sure lots of people will reach out to me after this. They did the last time I was on here. And it's the same thing. Guys, I'm not doing anything special. I didn't do anything special. I just picked up my phone. I got a triple dialer from REDX, and I never stopped dialing. And I got yelled at way more than you did. And you. But I made way more money than you. And so it's all, here's another analogy. Here's a pendulum. This side is money, and this side is pain. If you don't swing to the pain, you'll never swing to the money. The more pain you're willing to feel, the more money you're willing to feel. Well, most real estate agents call one FSBO, or they call one expired, and they say, don't effing call me ever again. I'm going to turn you into the board, you bleepity bleep and bleeper. And they're like, boop, done, never calling anybody again. And so I had that happen the other day, and I was like, whoa, that was intense. All right, dial. And just start dialing again.
All right, next.
So
I love it. Payton, I love the time that we spent together. I think that your positivity, your positive attitude is contagious. I love it. I hope that I hope 2020, regardless of coronavirus, right? Corona apocalypse that's going on. I hope that 2020 dominates 2019 for you. And I think you're off to a good start. Thank you so much for the time that you spent here with us. We're about out of time here. Thank you, everybody. We've had a lot of engagement, lots of comments. I apologize that some of those I tried to combine together for the sake of time and get one answer out of Payton that would answer a couple of questions. But thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. Just a reminder, if you are not getting our emails about the updates for these podcasts, please make sure that you go to redx.com. And if you just wait on our homepage for 5 or 6 seconds, you'll get a pop-up and you'll be able to enter in your email and subscribe to the campaign that includes all of the updates, including replays and everything for the Stability and Opportunity series that we have going on. The other place that you can get information is our Facebook page. So find us on Facebook, our YouTube channel. These are all fantastic places to go to get resources, as well as if you're a customer of ours, the REDX customer forum that you can find within the Vortex app. Make sure you're going there. I saw a hand go up.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes, absolutely.
So my advice to you guys is stop watching the news. If something catastrophe is happening, someone will tell you. Focus on as much positivity as you possibly can. If you guys have questions about what I'm doing, I do a positivity thing every day on just Payton Fisher on Facebook. Reach out, ask me questions. We have been doing some fun stuff on YouTube on the Fisher family compound. If we can do anything to help, we're here. And you'll realize that there's nothing special. It's just staying positive every day and just keep moving forward.
All right, what's the next video going to be from the family compound?
Let's see here. We had a guy who owns an ice cream shop with liquid nitrogen, and we had him come down, and I let my little kids come in, and he came into my house and poured liquid nitrogen all over everything, and it was bubbling and crackling, and it was super fun. So
that's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Payton. Hang out with me here. We'll have some post-show stuff to go over. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As always, we'll have some of these that are going to pick up again next week. Thank you so much, and have a fantastic rest of your afternoon.